everybody to today's Empower People course, Defining Diversity in the Workplace. Today, our facilitator, our subject matter expert is Dr. Christine Fuselier. This is going to be a really good course, and as we're all preparing for 2025 and the next year, this is a good topic to be keeping in mind so you can think about how you're going to be defining diversity in the coming year. So if you wouldn't mind hitting next to our next screen, we can all say the Empower People oath together. If everyone who's attending live with us could go on mute because it sounds really awkward when we all say this together. Zoom doesn't like that. Zoom, we all compete our voices and it gives us a headache. So I, Tiffany Joy Green, do solemnly swear to accept the lifelong obligation to hone my superhero powers and apply those superhero powers to the good of the people I serve. I will promote and add to the ongoing success of Empower People, its members, and the people, organizations, and communities it serves. I will help prepare the next generation of superheroes. I am driven to be a positive change agent for those I serve and interact with. And if we could all just take a brief moment, especially during these busy holiday times, let's just put our hands on our hips, look up to the sky, and take a superhero stance, and it will truly make you feel empowered. Breathe in, breathe out, and you know what? Even after this course, you're going to feel it, and the rest of your day is going to go really well. So now I pass the baton off to Dr. Christine Fuselier.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited about this opportunity to talk about diversity in the workplace. As we know, our landscape is changing, and we still want to have awareness of what diversity looks like, the power of diversity, as well as the value that we have. So today we're going to here's the outcomes that we're going to learn about, explaining what diversity and inclusion and recognizing cultural differences, examining some misconceptions and some challenges related to diversity in the workplace. We're also going to discuss the benefits of diversity in the workplace and how it can enhance our teamwork and improve our company results. I will review some of the laws that support workplace diversity and discrimination policy, as well as recognize the business case that results in inclusive workplace environments. So who am I? I'm Dr. Christine Fuselier. Apparently this was written in third person, so just bear with me. So I am a business leader. I have an organization that I'll share a little bit more about at the end. I'm a leadership engineer, diversity and emotional intelligence consultant, a published author and academic leader, as well as a DEI practitioner. And I have been in several industries, and entrepreneurship is one of them, as well as the finance industry, academia, and I am now in healthcare. I do believe education is power, so I do have 5 academic degrees, one in broadcasting, and one in speech communication. I have an MBA, I have a master's in organizational management, and a doctorate in organizational leadership. I also believe in continual education. So I have certifications in Myers-Briggs, DISC, DEI, and Trauma Informed. I'm also a member of the American College of Healthcare Executives, and I hold several certificates from the EOC Training Institute. It's a way to stay abreast of all the things related to DEI. My organization is called the Leadership Doctor, and it basically is a consulting firm for leaders where I conduct workshops, training, mastermind, transformational tables, and consult leaders to excellence across all industries. And that includes people leadership, diversity, emotional intelligence, and executive presence. And I also have created Stack Your Deck, a collection of cards that are centered around diversity, emotional intelligence, self-esteem, and leadership. And it's a great way where people can learn as they grow. That's a little bit about me. So let's dig right into the topic. Diversity in the workplace. First, we have to understand what that looks like. And I know when we hear the word diversity or DEI, the back of some people's hair, the hair on the back of their neck stands, because it could be a polarizing topic. And basically what it is a way for us to make sure that we know what diversity includes. It's not just about race. There's dimensions or layers to this thing. And that means that it doesn't just start with what we visually see, it also our internal things. Like look at the personality or our mental ability. Those are all things that have to do with our diversity in the organization. The community, that could be marital status, income, language. Those are other layers. Social experiences. And that could be anything from abuse, advocacy, addiction. Those are also things that make up our own diversity. And then institutional dimension, which is education, the strength from education to your income, if you're a student, if you're not, what position you hold, those kind of things. I think there's something in the chat. Someone have a question? Oh, never mind. So this is what diversity really looks like, right? So we want to make sure that this is not just race or sex. This is also about all these other layers that come with us as an individual. In organizations, what we see when we look at diversity and these three categories that they fall into, a monolithic organization typically has no representation of diversity in the leadership space. They may have diversity in the lower level positions, but as you move up the ladder, that changes. So a monolithic organization you can look at if you see like one type of person, all male, all white, all female, all white, all female, all black. If you see all of the same type of people, that's a monolithic organization. Multicultural organization includes individuals from a lot of different backgrounds, beliefs, and things of that nature. And they also encourage healthy conflict and confrontation in some places, because what that does is it avoids groupthink. Groupthink typically is when the person who has the power helps make the decision without saying it. For example, say your director or your manager came into the room and said, "Hey, we should paint the room." And you go, "I agree, we should paint the room." And he or she says, "I like the color red." So then we paint the room red, right? Without saying it, they're saying it. So that's what a multicultural organization is. And then plural organizations, they promote inclusion of all people and cultures. And these organizations are often, they are encouraging not only equality, but equity. And that helps to promote minority populations or underrepresented populations into leadership roles. So if you walk into an organization, you see a variety of people in leadership roles, that's more of a plural organization. There's misconceptions about diversity in the workplace. So we'll go through a few of these. There's a certain individual or type within an organization who is best qualified for the job. So some people just feel like if you have a certain status or a certain look, then you are the person for the job, right? But the truth is there are many different individuals in organizations with different skills. That's part of our diversity as well. And qualities that make it gives us an opportunity to approach and accomplish the same goals. One of the big myths is BIPOCs are only able to reach positions of leadership and authority because of their skin color. So in fact, statistics have shown, and we look at statistics across, I believe this was through Forbes, status shows that people of leadership roles are more than or overqualified or over credentials for the positions they are in. And there's no other study that proves that's not the case. And also, work relationships are better among employees when they share the same cultural, racial, and ethnic background. It's also a misconception because, in fact, there's a diversity. There is diversity even among the people who have many commonalities. So we are both women, but we have diversity. You and I, Tiffany, I'm saying we are both women, but we have diversity amongst ourselves, right? And you can have women, I can have a woman who looks like me, but we have diversity within our own group. But however, what we typically we connect based on what we have in common, not our differences. And finally, many people believe that minorities are the only beneficiaries of diversity programs or initiatives. And the intent of the programs are to make sure there's fairness and equity among all workers within an organization, and inclusivity and inclusive environment that benefits the business as a whole. So we have to always be mindful of that. And I'll give you an example. If you remember, if you go to some stores, they have what they call like wheelchair lifts, where people can use their wheelchairs to wheel into certain streets instead of the curb. So they flatten the curb a bit. Does that not also benefit people who maybe are crutches? It also benefits mothers who have their baby carriages. It benefits a lot of people. So the purpose of diversity and inclusion is for everyone. So here are some of the other benefits. Nurtures better decision-making, because if you have different people with different mindsets, they'll have different ways to come up with a decision, right? It creates a more inclusive environment. It's not top-down only, or those who have the power that makes the decision. Everyone feels that they're part of the decision. There's also an appreciation of our different characteristics, and some of this comes with education as well. Sometimes we can appreciate the value that others bring to the table based on their experiences, right? Because that's part of diversity, our experiences. And then what this does is it leads to enhanced production and patient satisfaction, customer satisfaction, student satisfaction, client satisfaction, whoever your customer is, and we have a more diverse environment for them when they come in, then that has proven to enhance productivity and service with those individuals. And each of our workers can and should be change agents. So people tend to support as a whole when they start to see the organization top down is giving us information on it's important that diversity is important, inclusion is important. So people within the organization tend to start supporting that as well. So diversity, let's look at some of the numbers. So our statistics are telling us that we have currently 1/3 of American workforce are minorities. 1/2 are women, and over 10% are over age 55, because there is a new thing coming up about generational diversity. And we have to be aware that we have different generations now working in the same workspace and workforce. And sometimes that can cause friction unless we are able to address it accordingly. And by some other estimates, minorities in the workforce will exceed 40% by 2030. It's only 5 years after January, 5 years from now, right? And by 2050, almost half the workforce is expected to be minority workers. Many of the workers will be well over age 55, and this is across all across organizations, all across the industries. So there'll be a little shift there. Engagement. This is engagement within the workplace affects diversity. So this is the makeup of what engagement looks like. 27% of our workers are engaged, right? And by getting engaged, they're involved, they're enthusiastic about their workplace, they're passionate, they're invested, they're all the things that we want them to be, right? 59% of workers are not engaged. And then we have 14% that are actively disengaged, which means they're intending on not being engaged. And then why is that? A lot of that has to do with inclusivity in the workplace. Do they feel included? Do they feel like they belong? Challenges, we have challenges, of course. Our challenges are communication issues, such as language barriers, hearing impairment, different communication styles, or generational preferences. Challenges, discrimination, stereotypes, and prejudice, as sometimes unconscious bias can fall into that. Distrust of the workplace, mistreatment, productivity. When these things are in play, there's a challenge to being productive. Internal resistance to shifting the culture. So some people may not want to do it. And they're more complex decision-making process because when you have more people involved, sometimes it could be a little complex versus one person makes the decision and everyone executes. And then at the end of the day, it's hard work. Diversity in the workplace is not an easy task, and it does require work and commitment. And sometimes it's a long road. Benefits, basically we improve understanding of people in the workplace. Creation of work environment that allows everyone to reach their full potential. I won't go through all of these, but here are some other ones. It increases our retention rate. And once again, if I feel like I belong there, I'm going to stay. Boosts morale as a whole. So it's definitely helping people be more engaged and they're more productive and they're happier at work. And it reduces complaints and grievances, and know that it's the right thing to do. So in here, we always ask, what's the tolerance level of diversity in the workplace? So you can look at your individually at your workplace and say, what is your tolerance level? And it ranges from repulsion, I don't like it, I don't want it, I don't care about it, it's not important, all the way to appreciation. So I always challenge our business owners and our business leaders, be honest with where you fit at the tolerance level, because that dictates your next, how you're going to proceed next. Awareness of diversity. This is a spectrum. Some people have no knowledge. I've had trainings and I go in and say, we're doing DEI training. And they're like, what is DEI? So there's no knowledge. Then there's growing awareness, and that has to do with education. Then people want to acquire, so they're asking for more, right? And then you expand your next network. How many different, we're not just talking about, say, discrimination. We're also talking about ageism. We're talking about sexism. We're talking about all the different things that relate to diversity in the workplace. And we then share our applied experience. And then we become champions and problem solvers in this space, because we are now actively involved and we want to also help move the needle in this space. So here are some practices and some helpful tips on how we can increase diversity in the workplace. So let's start with recruitment. And we typically look at, when we're doing interviewing or we're trying to recruit people, we recruit people who look like us. So one way is to create a comprehensive recruitment strategy that not only identifies diverse and qualified, because we don't want to just pick people because they're different gender, race, or something like that. That's not how we recruit people to our organization, but they have to be qualified. But you expand the candidate pool, that also gives you a wider array of perspectives and experiences. So that's one way to do it. Establish a mentorship program that connects underrepresented employees with senior leaders, so they can provide guidance. And then it also ways to foster inclusivity within your culture by making sure we value the diverse voices. So it's not always the same people delivering the messaging. And when people do, they have an avenue of where they can share their voice. And this is how a lot of companies get out of trouble, because we have several different voices at the table. Someone may call out something that may cause us to go off the rails in organizations. And then not having that voice at the table. Regular diversity training is always making sure it's not a one and done. Oh, we're gonna have diversity training once a year. Nope, it should be they call it a diversity education training plan. They should go throughout the year, right? And then EIG groups. So those are employee resource groups that make sure that people who are coming to your organization, if you have a monolithic organization, this is important, because when you have people coming in, they want to connect with people who have some of the shared experiences, and they can help them navigate their way through the organization. And also it promotes a sense of belonging. You feel like they belong more when we have ERG groups in place. So here are some discrimination regulatory laws that support diversity. No, I'm sorry, I'm going back. These are some ways that we want to be compliant. These are the acts. These are the laws right here. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 made it illegal to discriminate against workers based on their race, color, creed, age, sex, religion, and disabilities. These are what we refer to as protected class. So usually that may show up if people are being harassed or someone being harassed for their age. That can cause an organization not only financial damage, but it also can impact their reputation damage. And here are the areas in which they are protected: recruitment, hiring, and firing, wages, salaries, benefits, promotions, etc., opportunities for apprenticeships and retirement plans. Here are the laws that support diversity. So I want you guys to look through this and tell me if anything surprises you. Because we have to ask ourselves, why do we have these type of laws in place initially? Because at some point, these weren't the case. There wasn't the case. For example, Pregnancy Discrimination Act. It's a law because at some point there was pregnancy discrimination happening. Right? So things turn into law when we see those things happening. So these are not all of them, but this is just a sample of all of the different laws and legislation that is in place to help us within our organizations make sure we have some kind of balance between discrimination and promoting diversity. And I have here protected workplace, know the laws and why they exist. So it's important to know them. I'm sure this is on it. And here is a business case that supports diversity. 39% of businesses are more likely to outperform those lacking diversity. 12 times more likely to engage and retain employees. Nearly 8.5 times more likely to inspire a sense of belonging. And 8.5 more likely to satisfy and retain customers. Customers, that's students, that's patients, that's clients. So the numbers, if nothing else, if you don't believe in anything else in diversity, look at the business case for it. Here are some quotes from some leaders who also support diversity within the workplace. We get a chance to read through some of those. What I like, mine is from Sonia Sotomayor. Until we get equality in education, we won't have an equal society. So these are people across industries that support diversity. And if we aspire to be business owners at this magnitude, it's something to think. And in summary, diversity is important to any company's success. Of course, there's challenges. To have a diverse workforce, there's pressures around having a diverse workforce, but if you are prepared and committed to the work, it will happen. And I think differences among people are good. It's good to have differences among people. It's good to have diversity of thought, generational diversity, as well as all the other components of diversity, because that helps make a healthy organization. And here are a few quotes from Dr. Roosevelt. He is a scholar and an author, and he had definitely focused on diversity management. How do we do that? Managing diversity does not mean controlling or containing diversity. It means enabling every member of your workforce to perform at his or her highest potential. That's pretty powerful. Okay, and then this is my own personal quote. Diversity is not about diminishing the value of any group or people. It's about promoting and celebrating the value of all groups of people. And with that, I will close and see if there's any questions.
Well, thank you. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to shut down the Facebook component because our Q&A segment is only open to our Empower People members. So if you're not an Empower People member, please join. It's free. The link is in the comments. And if I don't see my Facebook friends again, have a happy new year and I'll see you in 2025.